All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Leave No Doubt Fatherhood podcast. This week we're talking about diet, debriefing on some of our best and worst ideas with diet. We've both had horrible mistakes and embarrassments in this category. We've also, I think, made some strides later in life.
Yep.
I've also helped a ton of guys figure this stuff out. Simple stuff, right, that kind of anyone can implement, especially as a father. I think this topic gets completely destroyed and overcomplicated pretty typically. And also, like, we're not coming at this from a science perspective. Like, we're not going to read any scientific studies today. This is all our opinion and our learning.
And we're not doctors.
We're not, this is not.
So this is not advice, right?
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. We'll just tell you what has worked and what is not for us.
Yeah. So we're not doctors. This is not a science podcast. Pure opinion.
Yeah.
For better or worse, because we've both had dark times here. We've had, again, some highlights. And ultimately, I think why it matters is this is one of the areas where you have, like, you're setting an example either way for your kids on this.
Yep.
And this is one that I think is actually pretty high stakes.
Yeah. I'm interested too, Sam, to kind of figure out, like, your childhood. What was your background with diet? Like, I'm going to get into that because that matters too, right? How were you raised? Kind of what were you fed growing up? Like, all those things play into it. So I'm kind of interested to hear kind of what your diet was growing up too.
I mean, we both largely grew up in the 90s, so notoriously dark time for like food industry stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you 90s, right? I'm a proud 81er, so I got almost a decade of the 80s too, But yeah, I think by the 90s, right, laboratories had taken officially over food production in this country.
Everyone was on board with that too.
Yeah,
like everyone was still watching TV and like TV commercials, and they're like, I guess we're all eating Gushers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
heck yeah. Like, I guess we're all eating Hot Pockets.
Yeah.
Like, I've eaten hundreds of Hot Pockets in my life.
Oh, me too. Hundreds. I'm sure you're thousands. I'm sure I'm thousands. I'm also, I don't know, did you ever roll with the Mission tortillas and just craft singles and you slap it in the microwave and there's your quesadilla?
See, tortillas were too cultural for where
I was in California.
Yeah, you're in California. Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't even have vegetables until like the deep 2000s.
Okay, how about Wonder Bread and craft singles? Grilled cheese sandwiches all the time in a microwave?
Did that. We did some of that, but I think it was more like Hot Pocket type of stuff. You know, like,
yeah.
And I'm saying, like, at the darkest times, like, I had a big phase with like computer gaming and Diablo 2, and I'm hitting 2 Hot Pockets at 1 in with like a Coke.
Oh, I was there too. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, dude.
Ooh, yeah.
I was up all night, and Hot Pockets, and then obviously I don't know about you, but I was like regular fast food. Like a lot of McDonald's, a lot of Taco Bell. I mean, all of them really.
My parents were good about that, but it was still just a part of life back then.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically like assumed that you're eating fast food like once a week.
Yeah.
And everyone did.
Right.
Like now it's like, I definitively don't. Like, we do not eat fast food. I haven't eaten fast food in probably 8-9 years.
Yeah.
If you don't count Chipotle.
Well, and I don't know if our parents knew this or not, right? But when we were going to fast food, like in my child mind, that was actually elevated highest quality of food. Right? Like in the 90s, it wasn't like, oh, we're kind of slumming it. We're going to fast food. It's like, hey, we're going to go get Happy Meals.
Yeah.
And this is like high level. This is the most nutritious stuff available. Like
I don't remember that, but I remember it being like sick that we were eating out, going to fast. It just also probably something to do with where we grew up. I mean, where I grew up, there wasn't a ton of good restaurants, I think the time frame also didn't help, but like there wasn't Chipotle as an like there wasn't like health fast casual stuff.
Right.
There definitely weren't like nice restaurants.
Yeah.
So it was basically like, you're hitting McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell as the options.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that sounds about right. All right. So again, we just want to lay the groundwork. That's what our childhood looked like. I remember, just to add on to that though, like soda's always in the fridge. Like I remember going to bed every night with an A&W root beer can like next to my bed. Like that's how I would drink like myself to sleep as a child, right? So there was like copious amounts of walking down to 7-Eleven, Slurpees, again, like orange juice all over the place,
Yeah.
and then a lot of soda too for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was also kind of like food pyramid era, where it
Mm-hmm.
was like everyone was kind of on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
which was not a good page to be on necessarily, but it was
Yeah.
kind of like, I think again, reflective of the time frame and kind of the state of media back then and mass media where it was kind of pre-internet as it is now. So it's kind of like we're all watching the same stuff, eating the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was kind of down. And like that's not the now it's you have extremes of like I'm vegan or I'm carnivore or I'm this or that, and it's all from internet and kind of access to different information. And
Yeah.
that was not like you would have been insane like people were vegan back then, but it was like you were out of your mind,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Yeah. Good point. So where do we want to pick it up? So I remember the first time, like Ashley and I remember the first time we started like wanting to be edgy and like have different diets and this and that, right? So a quick background for me. I was baseball, basketball, and football my whole high school, and then I ended up playing a little bit of college baseball. So athlete, very active that whole time, right? And then ended my career around like 20 years old. And so now I'm in my 20s, and now I'm like working in a cubicle, trying to figure out like life is just a worker bee type deal. And again, I was so used to a lot of exercise, and now I don't have exercise, right? And now I'm starting to get like pretty chubby, and and so anyway, I remember the first kind of thing we ever did where I was like, ooh, like this is new, and I'm like I'm embarrassed to say this, but like we went through the whole like vegetarian,
yeah.
and then that escalated to vegan, and that and then and then raw food vegan,
Oh
like
yeah, that's
that whole
rough.
arc was my first soiree into like testing my body with different nutrition. So
As it should have been in that time frame.
yeah,
Like if you were our age and you weren't vegetarian or vegan at some point, like you're probably you're not trying hard enough. Like
yeah,
that was if you had any interest in anything alternative or diet wise, like you had to make a stop there in the
yeah.
2000s.
And I think we're gonna get pretty harsh on that diet choice here in a second. But I will say this, like what it did for me, because we talked about this before. I don't think there was Netflix yet, right? This is kind of like for me, this is like maybe 2004 through five, something like that. I could be off a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, but roughly, like there wasn't like streaming Netflix. There wasn't this, but what I remember is people handing out DVDs of like talking about like you should juice all the time. Like
Yeah.
vegetables are great. And that was my first kind of into, they made monocultural farming look really bad, and rightfully so. They made giant feedlot stuff look really bad. But there was also just a lot of demonizing of animals like in general, right?
Yeah.
And then there was and so at the bare minimum what that did for me was kind of pull back the curtain of Oz and be like, oh, the standard American diet, there are some real problems with it,
Yeah.
right? Which again, I think all the veganism and the vegetarian was the pendulum swinging like completely against all of that,
Yeah.
and that was one of the first phases. So anyway, that was the first thing we did it for probably a year and a half. Um, so yeah. So anyway, I know you had that kind of as
We
well.
had that. Well, did you have like the weightlifting, bodybuilding diet phase before that?
Oh yeah, I kind of lumped that into my kind of athletic career in
Okay.
my late teens and my early 20s. It was like, yes, I was doing as many protein shakes as I could. I was doing, creatine. I was doing like these kind of weird like bodybuilding style like concoctions of like oats and egg
Yeah.
whites and
Yeah.
like just eating loaves of this stuff, right? It wasn't like tracking of macros. It was just like eat as much
Yeah.
protein and carbs as you can,
Weren't you
in
doing
various
like
ways.
weren't you doing like the gallon of milk or chocolate milk or something like that? I feel like that was
No, I never did that, but I'm
oh,
aware of that. Like, I know a lot of guys do that one. I never did that one specifically because like dairy always kind of wrecked me. So I knew I couldn't get away with a gallon of milk, even though I love milk. But even for me, I knew I couldn't hang with a gallon of milk a day.
yeah. That was kind of my like first diet decision outside of like normal diet was
Okay.
when I started lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the mid 2000s, man, that was a dark time for,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a bodybuilder in the mid 2000s, like you are eating insane stuff. Like you
Mm-hmm.
are like supplements were way behind back then.
Yep.
So that they're just disgusting. You're eating like corn supplement. Like I literally would like mix in like powdered corn to my shakes, like add carbs to them.
Yeah.
I would eat like 7 times a day. Nothing that was like, organic or anything like
Oh, yeah.
terrible ingredients. I'd
Mm-hmm.
eat pizza, like whatever.
Right. Well, I don't know, right? It was like GNC was king. You would
Yeah.
just like go to GNC and you would just be like, "Oh, this is exactly like the perfect human diet." just stuff in boxes.
And I've truly never been unhealthier than then. I've physically in all ways resembled like a feedlot cow. Like I was just sitting there, just stuffing myself full of like corn and like
Yeah.
bad food, and I looked like bloated and sick and but I was like, I didn't care because I was just like, I got to gain weight
Yeah.
at all costs.
That's all that matters.
All that mattered.
Yeah.
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 So that was,
I did. I had that phase too. But to me, that was just an add-on of I could eat anything I wanted from any of these places. I just needed a bunch of like supplements from GNC and protein powders. Like that was my equation of that. So, but yeah, I had that phase too for sure. And then it went into me and Ashley like have our apartment together. I'm wearing skinny jeans and I'm like a hipster. And so now I got to be a vegan and a vegetarian. Run around Melrose.
Did you like ride for that cause while you were doing it? Like, were you down or were you kind of like, one foot in?
No, I was never like releasing, monkeys out of laboratories or anything,
Were you like talking about, because that's kind of like a meme in the world is like vegans can't wait to talk about the fact that they're vegan.
Oh yeah, I was definitely like CrossFitter,
proselytizing.
Like if you talk to me within 2 minutes, I was absolutely talking about me being a vegan and why you should too. Like yes, I was that. What I thought you meant like I was never on the whole like meat is murder vibe. Like I was never like on the like anti people eating animals, but I was like a zealot when it was like cholesterol and you're gonna die if you have anything but green plants. Like. Yeah, I was that. I hate to admit this, but this
I
was a
could just see
moment
that in your personality, so I just wanted to like confirm that was happening.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That was a piece of it. I hate to admit it. I have other very cringy parts of my story that you'll learn soon on the podcast, but yeah, that one was definitely one I'm not too proud of. Yeah, but so let me fill in let's get to the practical stuff. So here's what I thought was going to happen, right?
Yep.
Is I thought I was going to start eating nothing but green stuff, and then I was going to look like Tarzan. Like or Bruce Lee. I thought I was going to just instantly get shredded and lean and totally muscular, and none of that happened. I was chubby. I had love handles still, like, and that's the crux of it is like, and people will defend it and be like, oh no, you're a vegan that ate like a lot of carbs, because you can, right? You could go even at that time in LA. I'm sure it was different where you're at, but in that time in LA, there were vegan restaurants. There was a ton of options in the supermarkets. The problem is you can still get a massive amount of like carbs and grains and call it vegetarian and vegan, right?
Well, it's not you can, it's you absolutely will, and there's no other option.
Right.
Because all the protein sources basically come from carbs, so it's like, with some exceptions, but yeah.
But like beans and rice, if you combine them, you get all the amino acids, like all of that stuff,
but
right?
Beans and rice, that's just carb and carb.
No, that's what I'm saying, right? I was just housing massive amounts of carbohydrates and then throwing on green juices on top of it.
Yeah, just more carbs.
I was not progressing in the way I wanted to, which was like lean and muscular, right? That's what I wanted. That's not what I got.
I ran that playbook for a couple years, and that was around the time I moved to LA, which I was 27.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I moved to LA, I fully just looked like E.T. after being vegetarian for a couple years. Like I just like just everything about it. The belly, dude, like
That's so good.
Just the
All pasty.
the skinny arms, dude. Just like the pot belly.
Really looks like ET. Oh, that's good.
For real though, like everything about it, just like I was a bodybuilder before.
Right.
Like I was like on the verge of competing as a bodybuilder. Like I weighed 200. I was like pretty lean, pretty muscular, like looked aesthetically good. And I destroyed myself being vegetarian because it was just like, you're eating 500 grams of carbs a day to get 100 grams of protein. You're adding more carbs on top of that. And it's like, late 20s, your metabolism is changing a little bit maybe. Like you have a little bit less leeway than when you're 20 or 19 or whatever.
Oh,
so
totally.
It's like, yeah, you can't eat, 150 grams of sugar a day and 500 grams of carbs and like stay lean.
Yep.
So, I got real just bloated, lost a ton of muscle. And it's like, unfortunately, having, trained people over the years, it's like something I've just seen so many times, so many close friends. So I, come from the hardcore world, obviously, and being vegan and vegetarian is a big deal there, which is the one area I respect. There is a subset of people in hardcore that are vegan because of cultural reasons, and it has to do with hardcore, and like there's a lot of that in hardcore, and it's around like animal rights, and like I get that stuff. I don't get the health part. So don't tell me that it's like the healthiest diet.
Right.
But if you're bent on animal stuff, I'm down. Like I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't fully agree, but it's like you should have the right to do that.
Sure.
So I respect that, but unfortunately, a lot of those people, it's like I've helped them train, and they're just like, dude, I still, I'm not making progress.
Yep.
I'm getting just more and more, like I'm putting on more fat and a little bit of muscle, and it's like I don't feel good, or I'm getting like sick a lot, or like whatever the health thing is, and then they finally break down and change it, and then everything kind of starts falling into place after.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen on the guy side, I've seen a lot of that, like what you're talking about, and then on the female side, like I've had a couple of family friends of ours, girlfriends of Ashley's or whatever, who were trying to get pregnant, who were vegans, and they could not get pregnant.
Yeah.
And they started eating some fish, right? They did like what felt safer, and they would eat fish or some, buffalo or something, right?
Yeah.
And then they got pregnant, right? And like I'd seen this in a couple of scenarios, and I'm like, if you can't reproduce on a diet, like that, I just can't get behind it, right?
That's a sign it's probably not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, again, I agree. I for the most part, anyone trying to like buck the current standard American diet system, I have respect for it, right? So let's get into the next phase, right? So, Sam, let's get like into the good side, which is what has worked for you as a kind of middle-aged guy, pre-fatherhood, now, like what has worked for you? Because that's, I think, one thing I want to convey in this episode with guys is there is no right, like one way to do it, right? There are plenty of ways you can be fit and healthy and lean. Yeah. And I hope for us to kind of just show several of those so people have options.
Yeah. That's actually a good point, which is like, again, this topic gets hijacked and overcomplicated, and people get, obsessed that, their way is the best way and only way, and you have to be vegan or you have to be carnivore or whatever. It's like, the truth is there are some like kind of first principles and just general concepts that if you do those, you're like 80+% of the way there a lot of the time. And that's actually a hard point to get to for most people. It's the same with exercise. Like you have to be kind of advanced, I think, to get to that place where you're like, yeah, if you kind of just do these things, you're pretty good. So for me, what's worked, I'm thankful that I had the bodybuilding experience when I did, because it taught me how to think about food in terms of macronutrients, which I don't sit around obsessing over or measuring.
Right.
But when I look at a meal now, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get 30 or 40 grams of protein out of this meal. You see people that don't have that experience just being like, yeah, I'm going to just kind of eat like an apple for breakfast, or like eat some chips for lunch or something. Or, it's like, you are not constructing a meal right now. You're just like eating snacks.
Right. Right.
And like people this is so like getting to like what are the principles that I kind of have abided by. Generally, eating a lot of protein is actually one of them, which sounds obvious,
Yes.
but like for everyone, dude, like whether or not you're super active, generally speaking, like eating more protein just lends itself better to body composition, like appetite stuff, like it's just it helps on all fronts. And I think this is one of those things where people think they eat a lot of protein because they had like a protein shake or a, you know, oh, well, I had eggs for breakfast. And it's like, dude, that was like 18 grams of protein.
Yeah.
Like you probably want 150 today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that is a shift for a lot of people. But once you do it, that's one of those things that kind of works out a lot of problems. So like I'm shooting every day. And this is, again, not ideal. So if you know what you're talking about and you're listening to this, you're probably thinking this isn't great. But like I'm in the 150 to 200 grams of protein a day. I could be eating more. I weigh 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. But that's, again, kind of gets into the fatherhood and kind of lifestyle balance stuff. Like I'm not meal planning. I'm not like over prepping stuff. So that's a big one. Like since I've kind of gotten a grip on, again, kind of post vegetarian world, very focused on protein as like a North Star.
Yep.
Again, like I don't care if you're carnivore or whatever, like I've given you a hard time about this. You were carnivore or you have been at various points. I'm like, I don't know if you're getting enough protein, you know, like because people think they are because they're eating a lot of meat, but it's like you might only be getting like 100 grams a day that way sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and we'll get to that in a second because I want to talk about that a bit as well. But let's stay on this one because like you, one of the ways that has worked for me, and when I say worked, I meant I got muscular, I did body composition, I got lean, I was happy with how I looked and also how I felt, right? And that is by tracking macros, right? And again, like you said, this is a fatherhood podcast, and a lot of you guys are, you know, probably not in a spot where you can do this, but I do think it's beneficial for a lot of people for a month or two to get on MyFitnessPal or something.
I agree with that.
And track macros for like a couple of months.
Just to get a feel for it. Yeah.
Because I was in a very regimented, like again, 150, 160, 70 grams of protein. I knew it was going to be like, okay, it was going to be 100 carbs a day, and then it was going to go down to 50, and then you're only getting like this amount of fat. And again, I don't care about the ratio, but it does open your eyes to, number one, protein needs to be king. Right. And then number two, you eat way more carbohydrates than you think you do. And they sneak into everything. And if you're not tracking them, you don't know that. And if you are tracking them, again, for a month or two, you can never not know that again. Right.
The trick is just to not track them. So like if you want to have some cookies or ice cream, that's like a separate thing.
That's exactly right. Like and that's what people do. Right. I'll just turn off the app today. But you will get fat quickly again. You know, and that's the thing for me that ultimately was the demise for me of macros is it was like, I'm not tracking this is not a long-term 40-year strategy for me. Like the last thing I want to do every day is be in an app tracking my macros.
Totally.
So that's where it fell off. But I do want to say myself, I've seen a lot of people have a ton of success tracking macros.
Well, just to maybe, I agree with what you're saying, but maybe to counter it a little bit would be that the second kind of big principle I try to share with people is don't eat foods that weren't around 75 or 100 years ago. That's when like the big kind of industrialization of food started and kind of the big food industry stuff started happening.
Right.
And so if you do that, you stay out of a lot of trouble. And the result is like, I've never been super restrictive with my diet. Even now, dude, like I'm kind of cutting down a little bit. I'm not being super strict. You know what I mean?
Well, like, again, but here's where I think this differs. I've seen pictures of you when you're 18 and 19, okay? And you're a bodybuilder, and you have for a long time carried a significant amount of muscle mass, right?
Yeah.
Which makes you metabolically rare, right?
That's fair.
And so I think we need to add that into the conversation because there's like if you want to talk about a guy, again, we haven't gotten in all the diets. I've tried a ton, and I would never say metabolically rare. I've never carried just majority muscle mass, right?
Yeah.
I got some Midwest genes, and you throw me some carbs, and I hang on to those carbs, right? I have superior survival instincts in my body where it's like any carb, I will use that as body fat immediately. And so That's where I think, like, for some people, I think they do need to be very strict, and for other people, they can get away with a higher carb load.
Yeah.
Like, because that's another place I want to go, right? Is that that's another variable. If you're a super just naturally I mean, I know there's different body types and stuff, but I think that's a factor, right? You've been carrying a lot of muscle mass for a while.
And I was going to get to that. Like it almost goes without saying, like, I think part of the puzzle is you need to be working out and lifting weights or some version of that, some resistance training for this stuff to all make sense.
See, and again, I agree with that from a hey, we're doing a dad podcast, and so please hear me, listeners. I think you should be doing a strength program no matter what as a father. So hear that. But I do not think that if your main problem is I am obese, right? And if I'm obese, yeah. I hate, again, I'm not an expert at this, but I know from my own experience, right? I went carnivore, right? Just meat, and I didn't have to work, and I didn't work out for months and months and months, and I lost, a pound a week or 2 pounds a week, like it was effortless, zero anything else, right? And then I got down to 180 pounds, and then 175, and then 170. At a certain point, it was too skinny, right?
Yep.
But I would tell you, I got as lean as I wanted to be with nothing other than eating.
Well, the point I was trying to make going back is, like, if you fix the food that you're eating, like if you're eating healthy food, if you're eating food that comes from local spots, if you're eating, like, local meat or vegetables or whatever, like we do, like I eat eggs from your guys' house. All of our meat is from local farms.
Yeah.
Like we eat stuff out of our garden. Like,
yeah,
we're mostly eating local things, right? And so if that is your selection, it doesn't really matter. Like, you don't have to be eating perfectly or like be super restrained. Like over the long term, again, yeah, if you want to lose weight fast and be extreme, great. But I think, again, this is something that people miss on diet stuff, is they get too extreme about it. And then it's all or nothing, right? So it's like, oh, I'm off my program, so screw it, I'm going to go eat ice cream now. It's like, if you don't have ice cream at your house, that's not a problem. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have donuts at your house, you see what I'm saying?
I do, but again, I think this is where we differ, right? Again, in the line of work I do, I help people with grief and loss and emotional trauma from their past. A ton of guys eat the wrong things because they are emotionally distressed at that moment, or they're hurting for stuff in the past, or they're going through something right now that's very difficult emotionally, and they are using carbohydrates as comfort food, right? You and I have never seen somebody of our spiral and go to Texas Roadhouse and just throw down 2 T-bones, right? They're not going to get protein, right? They're going to get carbohydrates in any way, shape, or form. And so I think we just need to put that on the table, is a lot of guys and gals are struggling emotionally. And that doesn't, if MyFitnessPal isn't talking about that when they're tracking macros, right? Most of these diet gurus are not talking about that aspect, which is like, you have unresolved pain in your heart, and carbs, you can't get rid of carbs, or you're overeating carbs because of that as a factor, right? So anyway, that's just another piece where you got to figure out what works for you.
That's a great point. Is I'm talking about it kind of objectively. What you're saying is like, hey, there's actually a lot of other factors outside of what your nutritional kind of setup is that drive your behavior.
You're like, dude, you should eat reasonably and sensibly, right? And I'm like, dude, I can't do that.
And I do know that about you. It's true.
And again, I'm saying this because I think there are people out there listening where whatever Sam's options are that he lays out here, I think there's a ton of people who are like, dude, I'm going to benefit from that. And then I want to be that representative where sometimes it's not quite as linear for other people, where it's like, dude, you may need to consider taking carbs fully out of the equation.
Yeah.
Or tracking macros really hard. But I'll tell you what, like I told you, I saw great results with tracking macros, but it was a job. I always wanted more carbs. I was always obsessing over more carbs. And I could only get 6 to 8 months down the road of strict adherence. And then the wheels fell off. And then the carbs scaled up and the weight scaled up. And then I was back at square one, right? I was on, as an example, as a comparison, I did carnivore for a year, right? I got as lean as I wanted, too lean. I started having side effects at a year in, and then I went back to carbs because I didn't feel right. But again, over 3 or 4 months, right? Carbs scaled up. right? I started with strict perfect carbs, and then I believe I got some carb microbiome in there, and then I'm dipping into the desserts more, and I'm dipping into the other stuff. So 5-6 months in, again, I'm struggling with carbs.
Yeah.
So currently, right, I'm like 4 or 5 months into this protocol that Dr. Sean O'Mara talks about, which is carnivore plus fermented foods.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that, and I feel great, and I'm not shedding weight as fast. I'm also lifting right now. So my body, I believe, is holding on to the muscle mass because I have a strength program, and I feel amazing on it. Now, again, I'll be super transparent. We'll have another episode in 6 months. If I fall off the wagon or, I keep losing weight and I can't hold weight and I feel like crap on carnivore a year in, I'll say that again. But 4 or 5 months in, I'm hoping that this, for me, is a really good way to go, right? And so I'll just kind of get off my carnivore soapbox right now, but like I think for certain people where there's something going on with their psychology or again their emotional pain or a combination of both, I feel like carbs are really really hard and they make I think the microbiome modifies behavior and because it's wanting to be fed, there's an underlying thing that happens for people, right? Where it's like, I don't want to be doing this or eating this, but I have to. I don't want to be splurging like at this level, but I am. And I think there is an underlying thing happening. Yeah. And I hope they research that more because I think we need more understanding on that.
If not, it's a great sounding excuse.
So. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Well, why don't we end with a few minutes on like, we're talking about ourselves right now, but like why this is probably one of the most important areas to get right or have some perspective on for your kids. So this is the whole, like, you're setting an example, whether you like it or not in this area. Mm-hmm. My opinion is similar to a lot of things where it's like our bias being close to 40, you're over 40, I'm close to 40.
I'm like 44. Yep.
Around 40.
Thank you.
Our bias is kind of like, hey, things weren't that crazy when we were younger, so we shouldn't, don't shelter your kids. Don't it's fine for them to kind of like pick this stuff up. It's like what was happening when we were younger is not what's happening now. Like, I do not feel comfortable leaving something like this for our kids to figure out in society or out in the world on their own, because I think so much of that is shaped by, unfortunately, somewhat predatory kind of forces where it's like, the reason that certain things are popular is because they're profitable. And, it's like, I don't want my kids to go out into the world without a perspective on how to eat, and like, because like they will get taught by somebody. Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, look, this isn't tinfoil hat stuff. Like
no.
It is public knowledge and has been for a long time. If you're paying attention, right. There are high-paid scientists in laboratories that are literally testing human beings, right, on what tastes the best in the brain, right, with no care in the world on what that does to your body, or is that, is it ultra-palatable? And if the answer is yes, we're gonna market it to your kids, right, and we're gonna try and get them addicted to that, right? Yeah. Same with social media on that side. Literally psychologists figuring out how to keep your child on that app for longer, right? So when you say predatory, I just want to double down on that and be like, the days of like, oh, we were kids, we did the same, we had pop too, that is nonsense.
No,
like,
dude.
And you're gaslighting yourself if like that is your take. And by the way, I see this all the time. Like, I do travel baseball with like several of my kids. We're homeschooled, so I'm not around a ton of other kids. But like, there's a lot of that going on where it's like we ended up just fine, and it's like, dude, the stakes are way different.
Stakes
now.
are different, yeah. So if you don't figure this out, like, you are potentially putting a lifetime of, pain, suffering, health issues on your kids. Like, seriously, because like, if you don't know how to eat and you just kind of do what society tells you, like, you very easily end up in a place where you are having health problems in your 20s, your 30s, like you are obese, like you are having chronic disease issues, like those things will all happen if you're just kind of going with the flow on it. So it's kind of like, if you don't give your kids that foundation, like, again, it will be given to them by someone else. And like, the stakes are high, dude. Like, you can really, like, that can alter the course of your life. Right.
Absolutely. I know that there's studies whether it's women with schizophrenia or it's autistic kids, when they look in the gut microbiome, right, there
Yeah.
are like some heavy things us human beings are dealing with, right? And what you ingest on a daily basis, 100% is going to spill out in a bunch of different ways in your life.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what we're getting at here is like so many of the things that we're struggling with as a society, whether it's pornography or just impulse control in general, or again, the list goes on. But dude, a lot of it is fueled by very cheap sugars and carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're listening to this, you could be like, "Oh, you're crazy, Cole." And I don't know. I don't think I am.
Nah, dude. I mean, when we even like playing Brooks with his baseball team this year, it's like I'm sitting around 10 other kids his age. He's 6. And you can just tell, man, like the kids that are drinking like Capri Sun and stuff like that and like eating sugar stuff for breakfast, those kids are like tweaking out. And it's like there's something when you look at them, like there's some static happening. Like there's something happening where you look at our kids and they're just so clear and calm and just kind of observant and present. You can tell, man.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's a weird thing. But
it's like, again, if you just want to deny this, that's fine. But it's like, it's pretty much
even if you don't buy that, at the end of the day, dude, it's like, accept this has a big impact on your kids. Like the model that you set for them, like Raquel as an example, her grandmother, her mom, for whatever reason, like we're always pretty dialed into like stuff that, even we do today, things that are like healthy and we kind of know about and have become popular.
Yep.
And like that totally shaped how Raquel thinks about food. Like she always had that, like just built in. And like, our kids are going to have that, you know, like our kids know the importance of eating like protein with their meal. They know they're not going to be able to do something like if they just have their carb on their plate, like if we're having breakfast and just eat their hash browns, they know that that's not okay. Like they're not going to be able to progress through the day until they've had their, eggs or sausage or whatever we made for them.
Yeah.
They know what protein is. They know like kind of what carbs are. Like they kind of have a mental model. They see us eat, right?
Yep.
So it's just going to be like obvious to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not that we're some geniuses, but it's like we gave them a framework that they're going to grow up with.
Yeah. No, that's great. And shout out to Ashley. Same thing. Her mom was a very much a pioneer in that era, raising her same way, just conscious of this stuff, conscious of what. And Ashley has always eaten clean too. And she helped me really clean up my stuff too. And and the kids are, by our example, learning how to figure out what works for them. And, and like my oldest, right, Wyatt, he can see how sugar affects him, right? We joke, we call him Rick James, right? My last name is James. So whenever he has sugar, he turns into Rick James. And so, he'll have sugar and we'll be like, there's Rick James, right? Where one of my other kids, right, they could take it or leave it. Or they'll eat half a brownie and put it down, right? I'm not wired that way. I ain't putting down half a Blizzard, but one of my sons will, one of my won't, right?
Yeah.
Again, in my opinion, there is something happening somewhere that affects people's food choices, right? And so again, I don't think there's a one size fits all. Getting back to where we started though, right? I want your takeaways, not just mine on the carnivore thing, but like, can we go back to what are Sam's sensible tips on eating? Like what worked for you? Obviously high protein, right? Fill the gut with protein, and the rest will take care of itself because your gut's filled with protein, right? It's a lot harder to overeat. But what else like works for you?
For me, it's really the protein thing, and it's the not eating processed food thing.
So you hyper focus on making sure you get enough protein per day, and then you're just making sure you're not eating stuff that wasn't around 100 years ago.
Yeah, because that just keeps you out of trouble. Like if you're there are people that are in this school of thought of like, well, it's just about your macros, so I can eat like gummy bears as long as it fits in my macros.
Right, I've seen that.
And
I tried that too, yeah.
Like to me, once you understand, and we're not going to get into all that today, but it's like once you understand what's in those foods or what's in fast food, or like what that stuff is doing to you, like you will never eat that stuff again. Like I have zero desire to eat junk food or gummy bears. Like I will never eat that stuff again
Yeah.
because it's so bad for you. So yeah, like those are kind of the two big ones for me is like you kind of stay out of trouble if you're eating just kind of foods that are close to their whole form or natural form and they're not processed.
Yeah.
But having said that, dude, like you can kind of be on the fringes of that. Like I eat protein bars, I eat protein shakes. Like I eat stuff like that. I eat healthy processed food. Like I'll have, bougie health cereals.
Yeah.
Like I will easily eat a $10 bowl of cereal with like raw milk and like the fanciest cereal. Like I'll do that all day.
Yeah.
But like it's a calculated decision, right?
Right.
I'm not getting like Fruit Loops, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the big stuff for me. It's just like, you got to stay away from like the processed food and with your kids too, man. Like it's just horrible. Like what that stuff does to people and their brains and yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'm curious. Do you eat based on, like, would you consider yourself an emotional eater? Like, if you're going through emotionally tough stuff, like, do you go to food?
I have before. It's not like I also don't, the answer is yes, but it's not like a crazy problem.
Right.
Like if something's really upsetting or we're going through a hard time, like maybe the first year or two we had kids when it was just like really rough.
Yeah.
I'm definitely probably hitting something I shouldn't be just to like take the edge off, like I've definitely pulled that move.
Yeah.
I remember having like, stressful moments in college and going and like getting like crappy food from the vending machine, like I've lashed out that way, but that's not like my playbook,
you can go there, but not regularly. Right. And like, yeah. So anyway, again, if you're listening to this, it's like, hopefully we've provided a couple of things, right? Again, I don't think macros is a bad way to go. You're saying more, hey, just have an idea of them, but really protein is the macro. Don't get all regimented.
Just to be clear, I agree with your recommendation. I make the same one to people is track them for a couple weeks just to see what it looks like. Because the truth is, like, if you have kids and you have a routine, like, it's not like you're out there trying new restaurants and new foods all the time. So it's like figure out what it feels like and what's required to eat. 100 and it changes by body weight, right? But for me, I'm 200 pounds or close to it. I'm trying to get close to my body weight in grams of protein per day.
Right.
So I kind of know what that looks like in terms of like how much and what types of food and how many meals and that sort of thing. So you figure out what it takes and what it looks like. And so like there's been phases for me where I'm trying to eat a lot of carbs because I'm trying to gain weight and I'm trying to like I'm going through a big lifting phase. That's actually hard to do. I know you may disagree, but like if you're trying to get 500 grams of carbs, 400 grams of carbs, which I've gone through
sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying I've gone through those phases and it's like you track that and you're like, dang, like I got to eat a lot of carbs. I got to figure this out, like.
Well, what I would say is it's really hard to eat that many carbs without adding 400 grams of fat in there, right? Because
or just doing it with sugar,
But you can, again, I can scale way up on carbs pretty easily if it's like a bunch of like tacos with like other stuff in it versus like clean carbs where it's potatoes or rice, right? Like that's a lot of rice.
That's a lot,
for 500 grams, But anyway, no, I see what you're saying, and I think that's a great option for guys to explore is like, hey, I've never really tracked that. And because here's the deal, like what Sam's not saying, which if you've never done it, you actually really have to go out of your way to try and get 200 grams of protein.
It never happens by accident.
Yeah, this is not just grabbing a random meal at a restaurant, right? This is very intentionally eating a lot of chicken or a lot of steak or a lot of ground beef or a lot of fish, a lot
of eggs.
Right, a lot of eggs, throwing in some shakes in there. Like you do not just eat randomly order out at a restaurant and like make this happen, right? And so
I mean, dude, maybe a good way to close this is like just do a quick day in the life, like what are we eating, because I think that can help bring it home to like what are we talking about like on this stuff. So it's like for me, we're always eating eggs in the morning. Like obviously I can't stand the no breakfast thing personally, like maybe it's my bodybuilding background, but it's like we're absolutely eating breakfast. We eat massive breakfast every day, guaranteed 4-ish eggs, and then some form of meat like chicken, sausage or bacon. So we're getting, 40, 45 grams off of breakfast. I may or may not do carbs with that depending on what's going on. So right now I'm kind of tapering that back, but
Yep.
if not, we have like, fancy little hash browns, like, organic hash browns that we'll make. And, yeah. And then I have a bunch of like, so I get, I have protein bars and protein shakes that I use. So I'm a fan of, they're called David protein bars. They're like a newer brand. It's like 28 grams of protein per bar,
Okay.
which is pretty sick for the amount of calories.
Yep.
Great, just like nutrient profile for a protein bar.
Yep.
Like just knowing what's been out there. Like it used to be, if you're getting 30 grams, you're eating a freaking brick.
Yeah.
That's like, has a bunch of other stuff in it. So I like those. You get them off Amazon, right? Like that's easy.
Yep.
Easy button, 30 grams.
Yep.
I use Equip protein powder. It's a beef protein powder. It's grass-fed beef.
Shout out to Equip.
Yes.
We're available for sponsorship.
Yeah, we're available.
Both of our families really like your product.
Yeah, I think I've hopefully sold lots of Equip over the last year or so because we're big fans of it.
Yep.
But that stuff tastes great. Great. I mean, it's great quality protein. There's no whey. I personally can't really handle whey well. You can't either, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, it's just beef protein, super easy to digest. Tastes great, right? So that's like right there at 70 grams of protein if you're doing those things. So that's great.
Yep.
Lunch, I'm always switching it up. Like we got, a spot across the street from our office where I'll just go over and get like burger patties sometimes. Like I'll eat like 3 burger patties with cheese.
Yeah.
Which people will be like, oh my God, that's crazy. But, again, like if you're lifting and you're eating right, like trying to get protein, like that's probably a solid 50 grams of protein, 60 grams of protein. I'll bring leftovers, which might be like chicken or, taco meat or something like that for lunch. Dinner, it's always different, right? But we're always based around, a meat like a chicken or a ground beef, pork stuff. Like we got, a bunch of frozen meat, we get stuff from farms here. So we have, half cow in our freezer. We have like, half or whole pig in our freezer. So like we're eating that a lot. Yeah, so there's always 40, 50 grams of protein at dinner, usually having some type of carb there, like rice. We have a lot of white rice. I may or may not have a snack before bed. Like we'll have I'll do like yogurt, with like, there's like a yogurt I get from Costco. That's pretty good. Like a Greek yogurt type of deal. And
Greek yogurt.
probably getting 20, 30 grams there. I'll put a little like berries or, granola type of stuff on there. So yeah, that all up is about 200 usually for me.
Yeah.
And I miss those sometimes. Like I miss snacks. I miss the meals. And like today, I'm kind of slipping today. I have a chicken breast in my Tupperware out there, but like, I'm kind of slipping because it's kind of in the afternoon already. What about you?
No, I think that's super helpful. Yeah, so right now, like I said, I'm doing basically carnivore plus fermented foods at every meal. That has seemed to really help my digestion, and it has really helped my energy levels. And so that's what I'm doing. So essentially, I don't eat breakfast right now because I'm not that hungry, but we'll do like, we do raw milk a lot, and we do.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Sometimes,
we do too. Just to shout it out. Yeah.
and we do raw cream as well. So what I'll do usually is I'll do like green tea in the morning with some raw cream that's, got some fat in it. So I'll kind of get my energy I need. And then at lunch, I'll usually do like either a ribeye steak, or if we don't have steaks, I'll do ground beef. And then I'll put in some like sauerkraut in there. And I also do dairy too. So I think I get calories from the fat there as well. So I'll do like sour cream and some cheese and some sauerkraut and a bunch of ground beef, right?
That sounds real good right now.
I love it. So that'll be lunch. And then later on, I'll either do that again, or again, if I have a steak around, I'll have a big ribeye. I'll put sauerkraut to the side, maybe some fermented pickles, and then have a steak. And then I'll either, if I'm really hungry that day, I'll have another bowl of ground beef, or I will have a Greek yogurt with some cocoa nibs in it, but like a lot of Greek yogurt. And so that's like usually a day because, right, it's like when you cut carbs totally out, you just don't have a lot of hunger signals. So you can really undereat on carnivore, no doubt about it. Again, if you have a lot of fat to lose, though, that's a positive. That's a feature, right? It's
totally.
like you're not hungry ever. You feel satiated. The satiety level of carnivore is crazy when you go pretty close to zero carb, right? I wouldn't say I'm zero carb, but I'm pretty close. So anyway, those are my staples. I found for me that eggs don't do great for me right now. A lot of people do great, right? They do beef, butter, eggs, and bacon, right?
Yep.
For whatever reason, I do in the carnivore world, a lot of people prefer red meat. That's what they feel best on. I'm no different. I feel best on red meat. So if you were to offer me a big slab of chicken or steak or ground beef, I'm gonna take that every day. That's pretty much each day right now for me. Is just
Yep.
a lot of ground beef, sometimes steaks if I can do it. Greek yogurt is a staple for me as well. Again, fermented foods in the form of sauerkraut or some other version of sauerkraut, like, you know. So that's my day.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's leave it there.
Cool.
All right. Thank you guys. Talk to you soon.
Have a great day. Appreciate you. Please leave if you have any questions or comments. Leave them down below, and we'll get back to you. And we really do want this to be kind of a two-way street, right? We're all kind of in this together. We're all just striving to be the best dads we can be and husbands we can be, and none of us are in this alone, you know. And I think we should. Well, we'll do an episode on that too, just building community of guys, because I've seen some of my friends unfortunately isolate too much and kind of move away. But anyway, thank you for listening. Tune into the next one, and we'll see you next time.